This is a rain turn, which means these corduroy bridges all die. And they're dead the turn after as well. On top of that, there's, of course, there's bridges going across all over the place now. On top of the rain turn problem, ooh, this is actually the bridge I can't. No, this is the bridge, 69 to 81, that I cannot bring the artillery over. This one here, but I can into Fair Oaks. It's not going to have any impact because the Union's going to be able to cut through. Trying to think, I thought I had something else to say, but I guess we'll just start playing it out. One of the interesting things from the observer point of view, here's the the Union 6th Corps coming around, threatening the north of Richmond. And then, with the Gilmore's 10th coming from the southeast or whatever, there's a lot of pressure. And I don't see that the Confederates are going to be able to hold out the way Lee historically was able to. But that's probably more my inability than the game system itself here. I'm willing to give things a lot of latitude when it comes to maneuvering around, trying to get around things. Like I said, I pride myself on defense, but not on mobile defense, unfortunately. The Union's going to have. I can't bring this artillery in here without starting a battle. So I'm trying to decide if I want to launch another round of battle here, bringing those guns in. I think it's probably for the best. I outnumber the rebels there. I don't have enough strength to push through that rough terrain. And with the rain, I can provide them some cover. This is 2nd Corps here, which is pretty potent. So I think I'm going to bring them in, keep the marker for the attack, and we're going to put a swamp crossing on the artillery to tell us what's up with that. And that actually can't get involved, but I have to launch an attack to help protect them or something. Hand-wavy stuff. The Union puts a diversionary attack in place here because of the rain. Let's see what the numbers are like. For the Union, it's 1729 minus 4 is like 25 strength points, unmodified, because we had the river. Now here we're looking at Heath and 12. Heath is down 4, so he's 5 doubled, so he's 22. So it's going to be a 1-to-1 battle. That drops down to 1-to-2, and we made the right choice in terms of preventing damage. But now we have the actual fight, which is going to be 25 on diversionary for the Union, 22 on stand for the Confederate, a shift up. There's a chance I could do a damage to the Confederates, but the main reason for this is to bring the artillery into play. Then next turn, because I have the leadership to keep those guns in place. And nothing good for the Union. We take a casualty, but now, we're further entrenched in the position. This game handles engagement and difficulty with withdraw is one of the gems of the system, to tell you the truth. This forces reserves to be important. Too many battle and even operational games don't put you in this kind of difficult position where, hey, forces are engaged, I can just shift them somewhere else, So here, you really do have to have unengaged forces to fill the line in a way that in way too many war games, it's just not as obvious a factor. And it's always one of the things that the generals of the time are always one of the most important things is to maintain an operational reserve so that you can, fill in the gap, etc. In far too many games, it's just a matter of, yeah, that operational reserve can be in the front line as far as you're concerned. You can get out of situations easily enough that you can shift your line around and everything. Not in this game. And it's one of the beauties of this design. The Rebel's not able to launch any attacks, obviously, but we did get some stuff here. There's an ineffective unit marker there. Those are kind of giveaways as to, information that's a real unit, but it's fucked up and it counts as a dummy, essentially. It's one of the things I kind of don't like about this system. I kind of try to play without them. But I'm using them because I'm solo playing, honestly. If I wasn't solo playing, I would try to take some of those rolls out. I don't think that the opponent should know which of your units are ineffective when they can't tell which ones are dummies, okay? I mean, the non-existence of a unit is clearer than a unit that's just straggled itself to uselessness. But that's that, and we got entrenchment line running all along here. We've got Beauregard coming up slowly to take place. Now, remember, the Union takes a 10-point loss if they don't get to the south of the James, so I may have to reshift somebody's force, quite possibly Smith. He's kind of a questionable force, and then put a threat south of the James against Richmond there. That's looking more and more likely, because it actually looks like the Confederates are going to maintain a perimeter, losing 1 point per turn when the Union comes in against them, there. Can the Union break through and get to Richmond? Maybe, but I gotta tell you, entrenchment lines are a pain in the ass to bust through. I got numerical superiority, but that can evaporate pretty quickly. All right, good weather back in place. I have to hide Grant. We've got the Union launching a couple of attacks up the center and continuing flanking movements in both directions. Got a powerful force here that actually probably could just bust through any one of these lines. But I'm considering using part of it, the Army of the James portion, to move through and get it coming up the south side of the James River and heading back up towards Richmond that way, just to put pressure on so many fronts that the Confederates can't hold. And that's probably my biggest worry to this, is that, I don't think you can actually take Richmond. I think that's the issue here, is Richmond has a lot of defensive advantages going for it. But I think the Union can collect enough victory points once it hits the defenses of Richmond that you can win this scenario. And it may be hard to stop them. And that's really just a scenario point balancing type thing when it comes down to it, which if that ends up favoring one side or another, maybe a little bit of tinkering could help, like just a handicap or something along those lines. So I don't see that as fundamentally flawed if it doesn't end up a close game from that. It should end up fairly close. The Confederates dodged one hell of a bullet when it looked like the Union was going to be able to make it to Richmond and get that big 20-point bonus, which that should have ruined the game, essentially. That kind of mistake. But yeah, I'm very worried. First of all, the Union's going to be able to come up against the Confederates here and start collecting points. And secondly, it looks like they're going to be able to bust through in the center as well. So I don't see being able to hold this long perimeter for very much more time. And I kind of think something became obvious. I haven't been recovering stragglers with the Confederates where I should have. For example, this unit had entrenched and it had 2 stragglers on it, and I'm pretty sure it had a chance to recover 1. So what we've got here is Burnside making an assault, and you can do that because Grant's right behind him. And he's got 31 strength to 7. We haven't seen that kind of power in a while. That puts him all the way at 4 to 1 to begin with. It's an assault versus a stand, so that's going to put us on table 3, which is going to be 1 each. Had I not taken it so heavily, I could have gotten better results there, but little did I know. Plus, I have a possibility of just breaking him here. Okay, 31 on an assault puts me way out here, and 7 on a stand puts me here with a shift in my favor. So I'll be on the 7 to 10 table with the Confederates. Uh-oh. That's 1 hit to each. The Union takes a 2nd hit. Confederates take 1. I don't think that's going to bust field. No, but in terms of troop density, Burnside is going to be able to keep pushing forward. There was a column shift I didn't take into account. It didn't have any impact, but the table is very, very slow moving. Okay, and the attack against Heath here, I'm doing a diversionary attack. It turned out to be a 1-to-1, 34 to 22. Remember, he's doubled for the rough terrain. And then that shifts down, but on the 1 column, that doesn't cause any casualties. I could have pushed it all the way up to 2 to 1. I probably don't really want to be attacking here if I'm not assaulting, but we'll see. So that puts diversion here, stand there, and we have a leadership bonus, so we're both there. On a roll of a 1, I'm able to do some damage, but otherwise I'm just trying to hurt myself. And I managed to hurt myself. The rebels don't perform any attacks. Shift them down. It's going to be another rain turn. Shitty that. We got forces from Beauregard coming up to fill in. I guess the only notable defect in the Confederate line right now, because we've strengthened the position here, First Corps moved back into there, gotta hold it, is right here where I'm not entrenched. Why am I not entrenched? Well, the Union's got to be wondering about that. And yeah, it's actually a problematic space. And we may have to do a general retreat back towards Richmond if things don't, if that gets taken advantage of. Or we may have to do a withdrawal and fall back into this space and give the Union their 1 victory point, but we'll see. Okay. Well, the Union wasn't feeling too gutsy here either. They just dug in. If they're facing the Cav, they don't think they can win. They know they're facing real troops? Nah, not necessarily. But this is mainly there to just scare off some more Confederate counters. I got a lot of Confederate dummies I'm not using, which is probably a dumb idea. I should be keeping a pile of them as an apparent reserve to just let me swap things around a little bit more. I'm not too worried here. I don't think that's real. It's been acting pretty false. I'm thinking these are false too. This might be real though. Remember, I have 1 unit that's not accounted for. We got somebody heading down there. It's interesting. I mean, probably real, because why would it head for to cross the James? But it might be a complete, a complete dummy operation. But the interesting thing here is I split. This is actually Burnside's has split to defend in both of these locations. I don't think the rebels can launch an adequate attack, and I pulled Hancock out. I can do that. I can't push through, but I can transfer units across the line, because they both attacked last turn, and Hancock can come out and be part of, between him and Warren, a big punch through the center, or through, sort of the southern part of the Confederate lines here, and probably get me close to Richmond with that again. But I don't think actual assaults on Richmond are just going to work. If you can't get that kind of surprise move that those Cav could have done, conceivably, had they been allowed to force march that far, had I been a little bit closer, whatever, I would have had to be here, where it just falls due to happenstance. It's not gonna be easy. It is so defensible that I think once we get to the siege lines, we can probably call the game and just figure out what the victory points are going to be, because there's really very little point to calculating anything beyond that. And that's gonna happen pretty soon, because I can't defend further out with the rebels, and I can't protect a 2-zone defense. So I'm going to be taking that 1 victory point a turn very shortly, and I think that's when the scenario ends. Is basically when Grant, decides, yeah, we're settling down for a siege. All right, to the rebels. Not quite that simple. This is not a major river. I pushed in, no attacks. I've pushed the cordon out further. I was thinking that these guys were going to head down, Beauregard's forces are going to head down and try to present, a better defense to the south, but instead it makes sense to use them as covering forces here. We only need to hold this space. Do we really? I don't know. And push a defense across to there. And I'm holding the entrenchment lines, get a chance to dig these entrenchments in. Honestly, if I can keep one small unit or get the cav up there or something, I think I can keep a perimeter and keep Richmond a little bit safe. Now, of course, when this space falls, that's going to be painful. But I got no way of defending that and defending everything else, I don't think. Instead of sending Colquist here, I send him here. It is Colquist, isn't it? Yeah, let's do that. Because it's going to take the Union a while to get out there. If I can make them fight their way through, I can make them pay for every victory point they've got to earn. So we might drag this out a little further and make it not quite so easy to score. To do a quick look up to see, hey, is this legitimate going here and defending, i.e., would he be allowed to stand? Because he's not going to be anywhere near his officer. And the answer is yes, which is important because actually it's the same answer that applies to the one, oh no, I assigned them all to Second Corps. Well, to one of the units that's down here defending a line. It's not part of, it's not near its commanding officer either. So we've got the Confederate Army kind of scrambled up a little bit, which could cause some problems during a battle. We might have to be in multiple wings when any reasonable person would put them all in one wing to give them the higher strength so that they don't get overwhelmed by the combat intensity chart. But yeah, you're allowed to do this, and that's kind of important. I am a little worried that I'm going to take heavier losses because of this disorganized deployment that I've put together, but preventing those 1 victory point per turns seems like it at least forces the Union to try to crack a wall through. I'm going to step up to say something. I'm a fan of the Dean Essig type of view of games, which is you should be able to look at the battlefield or the situation and just tell who won. In something like this, it's not that simple. And unfortunately for me, I hate processing victory point lists and trying to figure out what I need to do to meet the victory point requirements. That's not my taste. If Lincoln tells me you got to get Richmond by this date, well, that's my call then. I play when I played Africa recently, when I play Desert Fox. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, flashing light going on up there. I don't know if you can see it. Strobing action always hits me, but I don't know what the hell that's all about. That doesn't normally show. When I play one of those type of games, I go for Alexandria. I want to do the overall. When I play Whiff, when I play even games that don't apply to this well, like Unconditional Surrender, where you really should be figuring out your victory point totals and trying to optimize, your point salad and make sure you win the game or whatever it actually is in the systems. It just doesn't appeal to me, so I try to go for these broader flavors of what I'm going to do, and that's going to cause mistakes like historically were made, where I'm not optimizing the game, I'm trying to play the situation that as it was reflected in reality. And with this, I don't have a strong historical, I think it's an airplane, no, maybe not. I don't have a strong historical grasp on, exactly what was acceptable, what was not, what you should be trying to do, what you shouldn't. I know I should take Richmond, but I don't know how much, waiting for General Smith to come around is applicable. How much, setting up the siege at this particular point is a good enough solution. I'm still playing by instinct and guts, but what I should be doing if I want to win a game is calculate out what the victory points are going to be and see what we're going to see. And if I was tracking the losses with victory points instead of just putting it off till later, that would be easier to visualize. How many turns of points do I need? Well, I can kind of look and get a quick view. So the Confederates have taken 4, 8, this is knowable information, 9, 10, 11 victory, 11 strength point losses. So that's worth a victory point each. The Union are worth 2 each though. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, that's 32. So I've got to make 21 points up. If I just launch the siege, right now we're talking about 17 of those points. If I were to be able to get the siege off right now, we're not even talking about that much. However, if I can get this location, that makes up the difference in points. So I can get kind of a feel of what I need to do. I need to take this for the 10 points that it's worth. I need to get to Richmond quicker or get close to it quicker. And then it's going to be a close run thing. If I can force the Confederates into a position, anyway, I feel like Joe Biden here, just blowing off what I'm trying to say. If I can force the Confederates, into a position where maybe I can take Richmond or something, that's fantastic. But I can't count on being able to do that. So now I've got to optimize those points. What I was trying to get to, though, was a game should kind of give you a better feel. Granted, this wasn't that hard, but a better feel towards what you're actually trying to do and what the what the consequences are and everything. And this one just gives you a victory point list, and I assume whoever has the most victory points just won the game by whatever it is. Now, obviously, if you take Richmond, you see more or whatever. But I don't feel like this is a game that can represent with just, yep, looks like the Union won. They won the situation. They probably can't lose the situation. Lee is not going to be able to drive the Union back. This isn't all of World War II. This isn't an evenly matched battle where one side or the other, can count on being able to win the battle very clearly. Anyway, Whatever it is now flashing red. I don't know if you can see it, but it's changed to a standard kind of airline flashing, like tall tower, which I don't think I mind as much, but the other thing, yeah, it's going white again. I wonder what the hell that is. Okay, so you learned something new. Again, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a flashing white strobe. It was a lot brighter a little earlier, and then it turned red, and then it turned white again. I went and looked that up. Whoa, this looks yellow. What the hell? Did my camera just turn yellow? I went and looked that up, and I always knew about flashing red lights on the towers to warn the airplanes, and I think I would have realized that. And this white that I'm seeing out there is also not particularly disturbing. I think it unyellowed. But what was happening was a much brighter, much broader lighting thing that was really getting my attention. Now, I'm not usually up here looking out at the sky at this particular time of day. I think what I'm catching is apparently those change from well, apparently they're not always red anymore. And during the daytime, they use a white strobe because you can't see the red very well. Maybe that's always been the case, I don't know. But I was seeing, I guess, because of the lighting change, a difference to how it was presenting. I'm expecting that will stop being white again at some point tonight. I'll keep you posted. And I think this is right 6th Corps. It's going to try to punch its way through up here. And that's it. Everything else just really moving around. What do I got here? 2nd Corps shifting around behind 5th Corps here. I might well slam it twice, or from 2 different positions, or with 2 different corps at least, to try to get a breakthrough. But I don't feel like trying to smack through here is really working. So the Union smacking there, I got my numbers down. It's 25 strength points to 11. We got a column shift in favor, so it ends up on the 1-to-1 table. We did a diversionary attack versus a stand. That puts us to the 1, which doesn't do any losses to us. And now we're 25 on a diversionary with a leader advantage, to 11 on a stand. So it's 7 to 10 and 18 to 20. And it looks to me like the rebels have a slight chance of doing damage. Yep, so both sides take 1. So another diversionary attack, this time all cavalry. Now these are halved, so they end up with 8.5 strength points to 10. That's going to be 1 to 2 with a shift against. The Union is actually going to take an initial casualty here. I probably shouldn't have thrown the cav in, but I wanted to do so to try to bust through. I really should have scouted beforehand. I'm not sure why I didn't. Maybe because I didn't want to show cav, I don't know. So now I'm making the attack at 8.5 on a diversionary, no leadership, but a chance of doing a little extra damage. I failed to do so, so it was kind of a mistake because now I took a casualty by having that second wing in place. Of course, since there's not 2 rounds of combat, I don't have to make that mistake a second time. The density is such that if the Confederates don't get some more units in there, the Union can just push through. Of course, there's a bit of a problem with that. Like, I don't want to push through with everything because I'll be cutting my supplies off if I do that, but I've actually got a follow-up division of 6th Corps, which could keep my supply line open through that other area. So that would work. That's the Union side onto the Confederates. And the rebels were able to throw a boatload of troops here into this location, and I actually can have 2 entrenchments there because there were 2 units that could dig in. And let me see. Got some straggler recovery to do, but moving around here to try to create some kind of block for Smith. And I kind of have the Union tied up now until these division or these corps decide to do something. Actually, I can't pile everybody in there, and the reason why is because the Union is capable of moving. They could just shift over there and attack the weaker spot. So let me fix that. Continuing outflanks over here, I'm not done up here yet. I'm doing a cav probe to see what I got there. I know how strong that was, and it just got bigger. So, okay, I failed to find anything. So I'm going to take another shot with a cav probe here. Okay, this time I get to see one unit. And that's a general. Shit. I don't know what to do. I don't know whether to take my chance on this or here. There was no general there. More pieces moved into there. But I can't be sure that I'm facing... I know that this didn't get any smaller. Shit. I want to attack somewhere to keep my mobility. Yeah, I don't know what to do. If I don't leave any Union troops there, then the Confederates can conglomerate against me, and that's a problem. I'm going to take my chances against that smaller stack. Right, so we're doing an assault. It doesn't make sense otherwise. And it ends up being 29 to 16. That's 1-to-1, shifts down 1. It's an assault versus stand. That puts us at 3. So the Union takes 2 hits. The Confederates take 1. What's nice about this is I've again weakened the Confederate forces so that, well, I mean, I've hit a weaker force, so I can again pass through. But here's the problem. These can reinforce again and prevent me from just pushing through the line. Had I left a unit behind here, I would be able to push forward, maybe even with a forced march, making it to Richmond next turn, which changes the whole Confederate strategy, right? But instead, I'm diddling back and forth along the line, finding new places to attack, and the Confederates are going to be able to block me by moving about. But maybe I break them. I don't know. All right. So now we're at 29 to 16. 29 on assault. Did I get the? I gave the shift. I hope. Yeah, because otherwise I wouldn't have gotten the 2. And 16 for the counterattack, but it, sorry, not counterattack, stand. 16 is over here. Both sides have the same leadership, so no differences. 11 and max. This flips this. I gotta take those casualties, hold on. Right? No, we do the fire first. Okay, so 11 and max. This isn't used then. Union only does 1. Confederates do 1. So it's 3 to 2, but one of those goes away due to the entrenchments. Bringing up the nice concept of pinning forces, right? Now I'll let the Confederates have more time to equalize their forces. By not reinforcing this, they cause themselves problems. But here's the thing. Whatever happens, I've got the capability to attack either one of those spaces. So that opens up some of the problem. Onto the rebel turn. Positioning a couple of dummies in there just to make it even more unsure. Here's the problem though. The Confederates do not have enough troops to hold both of these positions. I could give this up. Maybe this. Again, I don't think that's real. But there is some risk to anything along those lines. So I'm going to try to play a shell game over there and hope that I don't end up losing it. If I do, well, eventually the Union's going to break through here. I see a core coming, and I don't have enough to stop them. I forced March Colquitt here, hoping that maybe that'll hold that whole core down. I don't see how it can. Again, terrible things are going to happen. It's just a matter of putting them into the rear, or putting them off long enough. Hey, we got another calf coming somewhere. And now I'm gonna go play some video game because I want to catch up with that. I got this sort of mixed problems here. I really want to get this out of the way this weekend. I want to set up something that I'm not going to be playing on video until I play through it a little bit, because it's kind of complicated. So when I'm done with this, I'm probably going to not be putting any videos up for like a week at least. So it's possible I might throw Leningrad or something small on a different table, just so that nobody joneses too much. But I also have other things that like are equally unimportant in my life that I want to deal with, and the light is still flashing white. I think what happened is, I don't think it's automated. I think what happened is somebody tried switching from one to another or something. But anyway, this is less aggressive than what I was seeing earlier, which may have been the daytime warning light. This one wouldn't bother me as much, I don't think. I'm not sure. All right. Interesting questions for the Union. Obviously, I'm going to punch up here, and that's actually going to go pretty well, I assume. But another is, do I want to hit this before it entrenches? Smith doesn't add anything in and of himself. I unfortunately brought the artillery over, which means I've actually got a weaker force than I would have liked. But I feel like I gotta try to bust that up and do as much damage as I can at this point. And then there's the shell game, and I screwed up. I had to fix the Confederates. They actually hadn't left enough to prevent me from just walking through. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what to do about that. In terms of what I can use for a pinning force, I could actually use the Cav as a pinning force, so that the Confederates can't just leave. And that may be the best use. And then that'll allow me to push through there as well. So I think that's where I'm going, because I can't just ping back and forth. I'll never be able to weaken them enough. Attacks on Colquitt, and what do we have? We have 6 strength points for the Union. It's not perfect. And Colquitt has full strength. So he's 4 in defensible terrain. So that's going to be a 1-to-1 attack. And we weren't sure what we were facing, so we just went with, oh, I did not want an assault there. We just went with an advance. An assault might have been better. 1-to-1 with a shift against. That's going to get us a hit against us. We would have been taking 2 and hitting 1, which might be, getting us closer to breaking Colquitt, but and now we're 6-4, both over here. It'll be both on this column, no leaders. And the Union just takes a total of 1. With that, though, is there's not enough to prevent me from walking through, so I can march out of there. Am I safe doing so, though? That's the problem. With these guys coming in, yes, as long as they have enough to prevent Colquitt from cutting my supply. And I don't believe they do. Nope. So it becomes kind of a tricky situation where I can't score points for taking the rail junction if I'm out of supply. So I pretty much gotta try to bash my way through that anyway. And I got no good answer there. Let's go to the one that I think is going to be the easiest to bust through. It was actually just pulled out. I have to get rid of this dummy because that's not allowed to withdraw. And so I've won, you know, I mean, in terms of I'm next to Richmond next turn, unless the Rebels do something impressive. That probably means a Confederate withdrawal this turn. The problem with doing the withdrawal, of course, is I'm giving up all these entrenchments that I have. I should have actually been entrenching here. But I don't know how much it really makes a difference, because when it comes down to it now, it's just, I just have to defend Richmond. Everything else doesn't matter, and that probably is absolutely defensible. And that makes this battle somewhat of an anticlimax. I chose to assault because I didn't think that I could do any damage with a diversionary attack. A stand just seemed like a bad deal. But I might break the units. Well, we ended up with 26-8. So that starts me out at 3-1. It's defensible terrain, so it goes down to there. And we each take 1 because of the good situation. Remember, this one gets canceled there, but that's okay. Now, 26 on an assault to 8 on a defense. That's the 4 to 6 column there, and there are no modifiers. The leaders are both equal, barely, and nothing. Let's see if the Union gets a second hit. They do not, so this just doesn't count because of the entrenchments. But I've pinned the Confederates now. They can't just get away. The cav is causing problems, and there are few enough Confederates there that I can push through. Again, more reason we're going to see the mass retreat. Now, of course, the mass retreat wouldn't be allowed here either, if it weren't for the optional rule for that. And again, that has to be in place too, for things to work. But I take some more casualties. And we see the rebels have fallen back from most of the frontline positions. Now, still these along the river. This one's important because it's defensible against this. This is important because it's this crossing. And of course, this is actually swamp terrain. This is just a stream. Those don't do shit. They're usually not drawn on borders in the game. This one, for whatever reason, they are. Entrenching down here, hoping to stop him. The big deal, though, is that I got troops across the James again. But here's the thing. If I don't get the rail center, I kind of probably can't win. I need that extra 10 points plus the points per turn to get it to edge out a victory. But the biggie is that, I also fell back here from here. And there's not a great reason for that, except that I would have so many troops here. But that may have been a mistake. It seems like a good idea because I'm entrenched still, and I've got, a little bit of a coordinate, but yeah, I think I'm going to end up paying for that. We got the cav running down here to go try to help defend that rail link. And I don't know where this other cav is going to show up. I think it's time to stop fighting out battles on video. Yes, it's sort of the only exciting part of the game in terms of like trying to describe what the hell's going on and everything, but the Union has just opened up 5 battles. Bonk, 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 and really rushing Richmond all at once. And this is going to be a key turn. I'll try to let you know what happens after the battles as they develop, but I don't want to go through the blow by blow. I want to use no more than this video if I can to finish the game, but we'll see. Let's talk about the first 2 battles. This one, the Union got crappy rolls, did no damage, and pretty much hurt themselves a little bit. Over here, Wilcox and, no, not Wilcox, Smith, no, Gilmore and Hancock, combined with a couple of wings hitting. That was a pretty heavy force they were facing. It was AP Hill. They actually did enough damage. They would have had a chance. They had a chance to kill Hill, but you know, it didn't happen. So that's two of the battles. We'll go to these two next. It's getting a little interesting, so I'm going to actually fight this one out. But over here, the Confederates held out, taking about equal losses. And I have the opportunity to pull out of this space up into there, dig in. So all is good, right? If I do another general retreat. Actually, I can't do that. If I do a general retreat, I got to pull out of everywhere. So that might be a problem. But otherwise, this is a defect space, and these guys are kind of trapped behind, which is why they shouldn't have been there. There's no way they can launch an attack to get out of there, so the general retreat seems to be the only option, and that's going to be problematic. Here, I'm launching my first attack here. It's Burnside. Yay! Yeah, and he's even got Grant with him in the back. Who has 12, 18, 23, 31, and he's at full strength? That can't be. Make that 29. And we're hitting this. Well, this ended up bigger than I thought. It's a second corps. No. Heath is third corps? What do I got over here? First corps, that's why. Okay. Heath is third corps. He's down 4. So he's 5, but I got another 12 from first corps artillery. So that's to 17, which means, what did I say that was? Looks like 29, not 37 or something like that. So that's going to only be a 1-to-1, and I thought I was going to have better than that. I got a shift against me. There's no entrenchments here, but a shift against me for the terrain, and assault versus stand, which is going to put me up here. So 2 hits on the Union. The Union is getting so bloodied in this in this engagement. So Lee-like. But now we're up at the top on the assault column versus a stand at 17. Leadership. Burnside is not going to help anything. He does 1. Okay, so each takes 1 more. Now, the reason this is interesting is because the Confederates are in two wings. We'll be back in a moment. Heath would have to go ineffective, so I took some losses on it. I took a point of loss on artillery. That's a hard call because remember, artillery is kind of doubled no matter what. And on the other hand, an ineffective unit means this line becomes, well, it means that Heath's going to cause problems wherever I put him. So, but yeah, it's not that big a deal, but there's victory point losses for making units ineffective. So over here, it's 26 to 14, which is going to be 1-to-1 with a shift against. It's a full assault still, so that's again 2 to 1. Burnside's got a chance of dying here because he took other losses there as well. And then we come over here, and the Union does not get to shoot here, but a 14 on stand gets to do yet another loss to him. So he took a whole pile of hits there. Indeed, Burnside ended up getting himself killed there. Oh, I forgot to do the casualties to the Union. I wanted to say something else, but oh, I guess that's good enough. This attack with 6th Corps against Beauregard, no leadership advantage, clear terrain, no entrenchment, nasty shit. I threw the cav in to give myself a strength boost. That gets me 32 to 14. Remember, cav is halved, but whatever. 32 to 14 puts me on 2 to 1. There's no shifts, so that's going to go for a starting 1-1. And you notice I don't have enough strength to defend this space either, so the general withdrawal is looking very, very likely. And then 32, 14 for a stand, no leadership bonuses. Hey, the Confederates failed to do damage for once. Normally the Union's been rolling a lot of 6s, which has really skewed their plans. And at the end of the turn, Confederates holding here, throwing some additional cav down to try to prevent losing the rail line. Everything is in Richmond now, but there is one little fillip to this. There's some Confederate cav roaming around up here. I gotta do something about that shit. Otherwise, it could screw up my my supply base. Of course, I could just take my supply base down there. I don't have to move wagon trains or anything in this one. I think that's probably it for tonight. Got a lot more done today than I thought. It may be the case. It's not right away, but it's getting close to the point where, like I said, you know, when they're all in Richmond, I can just start counting victory points. But the question still remains open, what's up with this? I'm probably not going to be able to batter the army in Richmond. The Confederate Army is in good enough shape. Remember, they've taken less losses than the Union, that the idea of frontal assaults on Richmond are just out of the question. So now it becomes a question of cordoning it off and maybe dispatching the rest of Butler back down there to try to do something. Or maybe a different corps. Yeah, why the hell not? Send something somewhat effective. We still got this Confederate unit here. There's not much the Union can do about it. I think I might be able to push right through and get into Richmond, but again, I don't want to attack Richmond. So there's really not a lot left. There's just this one open question. How long will it, when will I be able to bust that open and get the 10 points? Let's mark a victory point for the Union. Again, I'm not tracking the casualties with the victory point track. I can count them up at the end of the game. And the Union moves to a much more restrained role. Gilmore is not attacking. Oh wait, these guys. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing with them. I thought I had Confederates here. Yeah, I think I'm going to send Gilmore around to help push through to the south because I'm performing quite a ring around here. I'm going to try to bust this up, but I'm not counting on being able to make an assault on Richmond. I think that's just an impossibility. Even I am not that willing to launch attacks. Got the cav here. Got another attack there to just punch through them. But yeah, we basically want to ring the Confederate city and just start collecting victory points. It ended up facing more than it was bargaining for here, with AP Hill's a good portion of the 3rd Corps there standing. No entrenchments yet. They will very shortly, but this is going to show, you know, just how painful attacking Richmond would be. I took 5 losses to 2 Confederate losses, outnumbering them, you know, with 2 flanks hitting, right? Now these were assaults. I could have reduced the damage. There's no question there. Hancock had a chance of getting killed. I can't take 2 to 1 losses. The 20 points will get eaten up very quickly with 2-point losses. Of course, it's 20 points per turn. So if I could take it quickly enough, that would work. But I think I've got a better route to victory. So I think we're going to just dig in here, which was kind of our plan, but we were hoping to get to bushwhack some Confederates there. I didn't realize how potent a force I was facing. Over here, sort of a 1-to-1 casualty trade-off. We got the rest of Beauregard coming down. We got the rest of Butler's army coming down. It's going to be kind of a race. I think if Beauregard gets down there, we may never make it there, and we may need that to win the game. I'm not too worried about these Cav. Like I said, I can pull back even further. Union Cav are chasing them. So, you know, at some point or another, I'll be able to screen. First of all, I can move the supply center down to here. Of course, then I still have to control a port or have a port empty that I can ship materials up to the rest of the army. But it doesn't look like a viable means of taking away the Union. So the big question comes down to this space right here and the race for that space. How quickly the Union can bust through there. The thing is, I lied. Beauregard isn't coming. That's Cav coming. I forgot about that. I think you probably caught it because you're probably watching this and paying a little bit more attention than I am. Well, I don't know, maybe. Some of you may be paying a little bit more attention than I am because, you know, I went to sleep, whatever, forgot what exactly was happening. Beauregard is making his way down. If the Union are going to dig in, I've got 2 Union Corps tied down with 1 here. I'm pretty sure I can sit there all day. And here I'm facing, really, I think 2 more Corps. Maybe 3. What do we got there? We got the 9th Corps there and the 6th Corps, and that's it. Yeah. We're not absolutely certain. These might be dummies, or there might be dummies in here. There's definitely more than 2 Corps worth of counters there, but again, the Union have their dummies. The rebels could also throw some into Richmond. I'm not going to worry about doing that. I pretty much know what's going on at this point, and I don't think surprise is going to play much of a role. Yes, if the Confederates sent a big enough looking force out here, maybe they could trick the Union into killing some units by attacking Richmond, but there are certain things that are hard to simulate. You know, I would be rolling a die to make the decision. I'm just going to go with what looks like it's, you know, the most reasonable course of action. And again, I'm not too worried about this. And the Union, again, craps out here. Everywhere else, we're just dug in. Force marching Beauregard down through the Cav in here. And we got these guys spreading out. We're not quite close enough that I have to move yet. So I'll put it off another round. End of this turn, things are getting a little tight. What's his name? Whiting? No, Smith. God, my brain's just not working. I'm making up people now. 2 of his divisions are now ineffective, and without doing any casualties with the extra Cav there, that's basically an extra strength point. I'm getting down to bad odds, so unless it actually looks like this isn't going to break, I'm going to get stuck behind the James or in the Bermuda 100 still, and not able to cut that rail line. I could probably count the victory points and call it at this point, but I want to play this out a little bit more. But Beauregard's making his way down. If I can't make an assault on Richmond, which I'm not going to do, I think we know where we're at. This isn't going to fall unless I forget this next turn. Continuing down in the same vein, force marching some troops into here. You know, eventually I'll have double entrenchments there if I need them. I don't think I really do. There's infinite here, basically, the 3 that I need. So yeah, the supply source has fallen back. We're not going to see any big surprises. The only question is whether or not there's a breakthrough there, and that 10 points. And that 10 points is probably the victory determinant for the game. I can't really afford to keep pulling Confederates out of here, or else the Union can afford to attack. For a couple turns, the Union's prepared to make their attack here. They've been able to rest up all their units. And then there's also going to be a Cav attack down here, just to prevent this from getting hit. The Confederates with 1 Cav marker do not have enough to protect to hit all the different ports, which means no matter what, once this moves over, it's over anyway in terms of any kind of trying to cut the supply. Union managed to chase these guys off. They're ineffective. They're not allowed to move. That means they're just sitting ducks. They'll be finished off. That's 3 cav strength points I've been able to wipe out because the Confederates didn't run away. They kept pressing against presumably stronger cav forces. And yeah, not a good move, but over here's the key. And let's make another bad move. Butler's choosing to have Gilmore assault here, and it ends up 21-14. So that's going to be a 1-to-1 attack, drops down to 1-to-2. The assault brings it to 2-1. That's the Confederate entrenchment. We're probably going to bust up Gilmore too here, but whatever. 21 on the assault puts us here. We have a leadership deficit. So the 14 stand goes to this location, which means 11-14 in top. The Union gets a big hit. The Confederates do not. So that's 2 hits on the Confederates. So we're actually trading losses there at 2-2 because of the entrenchment. That's a much better result than I expected. I have to be careful here. So in terms of losses, if I take cav losses, they may cost me more victory points in the end, ineffective units, whatever. But in terms of holding that 10 points, it's the best move I've got. Next turn, wiped out those Confederates. And down here, since it worked last time, let's try it again. We kind of need the assault to be able to break through the entrenchment. But this time, some stragglers have recovered on the Confederate side. There are no Union stragglers left. How'd that happen? So it's actually 19-15. Still the 1-to-1 drops down to 1-to-2 because of the terrain, and ends up that 2-to-1 hit. 19 on the assault puts me only to here. I'm not as good as I was, but the Confederates are at 15 with a shift. They're in better shape. The Union still gets a decent roll. The Confederates not so much. I got things screwed up here. So we trade off, but we're taking 2 hits to the Confederates 1. However, we're bigger. We might eventually break them. But the strengths are dropping. It's 17-14, which puts us to here. Wow, Confederates had an advantage. They were right on the edge. And it's really just die rolling at this point, I think. Yeah, we each cause 1. That's a little worse for the Union, but we're still doing a hit. So it's not terrible. I must have miscounted something because I'm still at 17 even though I've got an ineffective unit. So the Union was a little higher up than I had them counted. I'm not going to go back and try to figure it out. So Union's at 17, Confederates are down to 11. That's going to make it the same situation as it was. We're still doing the assault. The Union putzes out, and they do no hits this time. And this is where it starts getting ugly because these divisions are close to ineffective. I'm going to call it here. I don't think the Union can press their luck. I'll take the damage from this, and then we're going to count the victory points for as this siege situation continues. Okay, so I pulsed to the end of the turn, just counting 1 victory point per turn, or to the end of the game, counting 1 victory point per turn, and then counted up the losses. And the Union lost 52 strength points. That's doubled for victory points. The Confederates only lost 32, and that's singular. Ineffective divisions, the Union had 5 of them. That's worth 2 points each again. The one difference is Richmond, being close to Richmond, gave me 15 points over the course of the time that I was there. And it worked out as a blowout. The Confederates 114 to the Union 47. which shows that I guess I still kind of know how to defend better than I know how to attack. I was bloody-minded. There's no question about that. I tried to grind through things where I couldn't. But, I mean, it would have been so much worse going into here. If I took Richmond, I would have spent more than 20 points to do so, and I don't think I could have taken it. I think I would have just been wasting losses. This is a game on the attack about maneuver, and I'm not so good at maneuver, not on attack or defense, but, you know, it is what it is. I think there would have been some opportunities. So you have different choices at the beginning of this scenario. You can launch out of here and try to make an attack across the front, right from the north of Richmond. You've got the opportunity. You don't have the opportunity to cut through here right away. You have to bring the army of the James back together to have any chance of busting through Beauregard. And remember, he's in two spaces, which makes him weaker, but one weak division can't do it. I did find, and I think it's going to be tough for the Confederates. I think it's fairly tough for the Union to win this, to tell you the truth. I made errors with the rebels. There's no question about that. And I still was able to pretty much hold things off. They may have made some bad decisions tactically, on the battlefield with the tactical choices, when to assault, when not to. I think I'm getting a little better with that, but whoever the attacker is pays the higher price usually with those choices. But yeah, this is not a trivial scenario all the same. So I'm not sure about the balance on it, I'm also not sure about my capabilities in any direction. One thing that, I really wanted to go into that I think this scenario is worth paying the price for getting this booklet. The Lee Takes Command, the expansion for this map is worth it. So if you have Lee Takes Command, I would pick this up. I actually like this maybe better because of the better maneuver opportunities than the Lee Takes Command scenario itself. I'm still iffy about this particular boxed game though, because of the only one combat round, the shorter days, etc., or the shorter turns. I don't believe that is valid. Oh, you know what I wasn't paying attention to? The fact that I had to move these in an AM turn. It may have meant that I moved them earlier, but I don't think that has any impact on anything. Anyway, I had a lot of fun with this one. I think this particular situation highlighted some of the strengths of the game in terms of the maneuver capabilities, etc. A little better than certainly than the last one that I played, or maybe the last couple that I played, which had kind of been disappointing me. Well, the last one that I played was just, I consider that a throwaway. The Autumn of Glory expansion for this. Autumn of Glory itself, I wasn't as pleased with as I thought I would be, but I really like this one with the patch, not patch, but the additional scenario on it for the later time. I'm going to have trouble disentangling the two counter mixes on this one in a way that I don't feel like I did with the Autumn of Glory scenario, though. I wish that they had come up with a slightly better way to deliver things. There's a couple of counters that basically you need in both scenarios. There's the Grant counter is used in both scenarios, and a couple of replacements that maybe isn't a big deal. Maybe you have those already embedded in the previous scenario. But I really hate the idea of, I have to have a bag for this module and then counters for each of the scenarios that are in it. I really wish I could just break it into, hey, these counters go with this game, these counters go with that game, and that way I don't have to figure out as much. That's probably my biggest gripe. The other one, of course, being one of the scenarios, the Autumn of Glory one, is really kind of shitty and was a waste of time as far as I'm concerned. This one was one of the better ones I've seen in the series, so I really had a good time playing this one out. I just didn't want to play out a bunch of turns that nothing of interest is going to happen. All right, let's send this one up. I made hints that I'd like to do a better review of this system. I might do that later today. If it doesn't go up tonight, I wouldn't expect the addendum because I'm just not going to be able to get to it. The problem with that is I'm worried about saying the same damn things I said in the last review. Because it's not like I take notes. I would have to watch the last review, and I don't want to see that shit. But I know that I did not go through the rule book piece by piece and look at how the systems worked and interacted. I'm not sure I'm capable of doing that correctly. There's sort of this... there's sort of a gestalt to this system where it all holds together almost, and where it doesn't is where there are patches in the specific rules. Unfortunately, the grand vision for the system doesn't cover any of the campaigns that I've seen well enough that they didn't have to make patches to the system itself, whatever they may be, like Grant operating outside of, supply lines. Well, why can't other people do it in other situations? Why is this okay to just cut all supplies and go? Why doesn't he need mule trains like they have in the Atlanta campaign? What's going on, And these kind of questions, I feel like there's a generalist set of rules that would work in the whole system. And that doesn't mean there wouldn't still be specific rules for certain situations. But you shouldn't be making shifts like, let's make the spaces smaller, the time scale smaller, and then cut the battles to half the time. That kind of thing just doesn't hold together well, and that causes some real problems. I feel like a little bit more discipline with the system, the way that Dean Essig has put into his big systems, at least the OCS and the CWB and its derivatives, is kind of needed here. And given that the guy who designed this system kind of said, yeah, I'm done anyway, for various reasons, we're never going to probably see that. But there's a real brilliance to this system, one that speaks to me nicely about, what's going on, in a way that the great campaigns of the American Civil War did not. Lee versus Grant sort of did. But again, that felt like that was so tailored to the situation. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe for these operational games, maybe the situations do have to be that tailored to give you the campaign and give you the focuses on it, and that a generalist system isn't going to work as well. I'm not sure. That may be the big bonus for great campaigns, is that it's able to provide a generalist situation that doesn't require the kind of patching that this system does. But this system just tells me the story so much better. The geometry makes more sense to me, whatever. All right, let's send this sucker up.